Good morning, everyone. Hope y'all did your morning rituals today. I know I did. Thank you again for tuning in. Thank you for stopping by. Your attention is precious, so the fact that you share with me means a lot. Um, these 2 days, I'm on a different route. Show a little bit more passion, a little riled up recently. Um, People kind of getting perturbed over my content. So for this next 2 days, we're gonna focus on some tangible things that people love to discuss. And today we're gonna discuss money. People love to talk about money, right? So we're gonna talk about money in this video. But we're not gonna talk about no petty hustles. We're not gonna talk about peddling wares, selling index cards, and going to the 99-cent store and reflipping it. We're not talking about no low-level hustles. People want to talk about money, then it's time for everybody to dream big and explore their minds so we can make some real big money. All of the products that we use, iPhones and Androids and HD TVs and all this fancy stuff, is from people that dream big. So we're not going to be hustling. If you're starving and you're desperate and you got to make money by tomorrow, this video is not for you. Anything with savagery and being desperate for cash and your bills is backed up and all that stuff, and you got the fangs out and you want to do anything to make money, then go get a job or sell drugs or go rob a bank. This video is for individuals that want to explore higher finance. They're not going to be a slave to their desperation, and they want to really, really make big money and explore things that wealthy people explore. Because all too often we get into a trap of doing things just to make money. Anything that you do for money is a job. I don't care what it is. Even if it's not a W-2, if you're doing it and your primary reason for doing it is money, you have a job. Period. People argue with me and they disagree. Show me examples of successful people that have made it and that are wealthy and that have created great things, and there's something else driving them above money. That's a fact. There's patterns to that. So we're not going to do anything dealing with desperation. Today we're going to explore one way of accumulating money, setting up a system, because that's what wealthy people do. People that run this world, people that have lots of money, they have systems that give them income whether they're present or not. Period. They have things that affect people's lives. They offer the most value to the most people, and therefore those people get the most money. So that's what we're going to explore today. So if you're looking to hustle and make hand-to-hand and just pay your bills, please tune me out. Get far away from me. Unsubscribe, do all that. But if you want to dream big and explore things that's outside your comfort zone and actually do what successful people really do, not your local successes, but people that run stuff, that's what we're going to talk about today. So with that, we're going to talk about private equity and business flipping. So this is something that's used by big companies, giant companies, people with mega money. So when you see companies, most of the companies that we see, that we hear about, Apple, Microsoft, quite a few, they're what you call public, meaning that they have raised money by offering shares of stock or bond to the masses. And in return for that, the masses purchase it, and the company has now raised money. So it's IPO, initial public offering. So that's mostly what you see. But they also have companies, now when the company's public, the information is open to everyone to see and scrutinize. You can see how much they make, the revenue, losses, things like that. Now, companies that aren't public are private. You can't really get access to their books, and you don't know how much really money they make because it's private. So private equity firm or investment would take, there's two ways. They would take a public company, right? Let's say Apple was struggling, hypothetical. They would look at Apple and they would say, okay, this is a viable company. Why are they struggling? We could turn this company around. So what they'll do is they'll take the company from public and make it private. And then the company that invests in Apple to take them over and purchase them, they will make severe changes to Apple business model and the whole thing to make it profitable and turn the company around from when it was losing. After a few years, when the company is turned around and it's making profits, then that company will either resell or resell for a higher profit than when they purchased it, or they'll keep part of the ownership and then sell part of it. But either way, they're making more money back than they put in. That's one way. Or what they'll do is, there's a private company that's also struggling. This company's not public. Same investment firms will look at it and say, this is a good business model. Why is it struggling? They'll do their homework, and then they'll purchase that company that's private, do the same thing, turn it around, and then they'll resell it for more than what they put in. Or they'll restructure it to whatever benefit they have. But the bottom line is, they're taking companies that are failing and not doing well, they're performing poorly, purchase it, turn them around and make them perform wonderfully. Therefore, the value of that company has raised. So I suggest, since this is something that big companies do, major companies with market value of billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars, this is the structure that high finance businessmen operate off. Why can't people, the average person, do the same thing? And they can, actually. And there's a lot of websites out there. I put some in the description where you can actually look at private businesses, right? And you can see the type of businesses they are. And then you can also do the same thing. You can get a team together, right? Or even do it yourself. I always prefer teams. And you could actually look at businesses and then see which one, call them or do your due diligence. And maybe in another video we'll go over the details of the due diligence and all that, and actually see which businesses maybe in your local area or not in your local area are right to be taken over and purchased. You could do the same thing for apps. There's a lot of people that create apps. There's a lot of people that have internet businesses that already have revenue, but they just don't want to maintain it. So now we have apps, local businesses, physical businesses, and internet businesses that have income streams. So if you want to make money, people always talk about making money, but they only used to something they can touch and sell hand to hand, transactional. That's kind of old, unless you invented your own thing. But you could purchase these old apps, right? And these apps have value. I mean, Uber is an app, Lyft is an app, and these apps now they make billions of dollars. So imagine how many other apps that's just sitting there waiting to be purchased that you can purchase and make profitable. Same thing, there's a lot of internet businesses. There's businesses online that's completely virtual that have monthly income, monthly revenue, but the founders don't want to maintain it anymore. They just want to cash out. You can actually look at these businesses, purchase these businesses, and now you have monthly income. You can even borrow. For those of you that do have jobs, you could take out a personal loan, borrow some money, purchase these businesses, and now you have a business in the box where it automatically brings you monthly revenue. These are things that a lot of people don't explore because they're used to exchanging their time for money. They're used to hustling and all of that, which is dinosaur methods to make money. I used to hustle. It's dinosaurs. 2016. It's time to step our imagination up, since people love to talk about money and nothing else. So those are some ideas. There's already businesses there that already have revenue. Why not take them over? Now you're getting monthly income all the time. And if you financed it, the monthly income that comes in covers the loan that you borrowed, the monthly payments that you have to pay back to the bank, and whatever's left over is your profit. And then you could tweak the business and make it grow as you see fit. You could check out the demographics, you could check out the customers, and then you grow the business. As you grow the business, the revenue increases. So now your profit from the loan that you borrowed from the bank now becomes the money that you borrow from the bank, and the profit that you make now becomes wider. So your profits increase. So this is methods that we should use. People that you don't have to be in a Fortune 500 company in high finance. You can actually do this yourself. There's websites there that have people that sell their businesses, that sell their internet businesses, that are selling apps and things like that. These are gold mines that are just sitting there, right? So I suggest that we do this, that you do this, This way you have a system. You have something that pays you even if you're just sitting down. You don't have to go out there and punch a clock. And it gets you expanding ideas that's different, you know? A brief history of private equity, just to give you some more context, because when it comes to finance and money, I notice a lot of people are two-dimensional, you know? Outside of jobs and selling things physically, people don't really have a concept of a passive income or business owning and investing. So a lot of people have heard of Steve Jobs. A lot of people have heard of all these great innovators, Mark Zuckerberg and things like that. But nobody really talks about Michael Milken, right? Michael Milken has done more, right, in terms of innovation than a Steve Jobs or Bill Gates. And I know that sounds hard to believe, but a lot of people haven't heard of him. Michael Milken is probably the greatest financier, had the biggest impact on finance outside of J.P. Morgan. After J.P. Morgan, it's Michael Milken and junk bonds. In the 1970s and 1980s, a lot of the companies that we see now that are dominating, they are not new companies. These companies have been out since the 70s and the 80s. They just got a lot of traction in the 90s during the dot-com phase. But a lot of companies are out there. A lot of billionaires were made because of Michael Milken and the use of junk bonds. So what are junk bonds? Like I said, when companies want to raise money, they issue stocks, they issue bonds. Junk bonds are instruments of finance that have a low grade, junk pretty much, below triple B, that people pretty much overlook. You probably wouldn't even use these bonds to raise money because they're not trustworthy. So what Michael Milken, he didn't invent it, but he definitely pioneered it. And with his company Drexel, Burnham, Lambert, what people were doing was a company, right? Let's say CNN, right? CNN is one example of how junk bonds and Michael Milken has created a billionaire in Ted Turner and created a business model in 24-hour news, where without these junk bonds, there would be no CNN. So let's say CNN on Ted Turner, who wants to, at this time was a revolutionary idea, wanted to create a company in which you watch 24-hour news. Now, mind you, in the 70s and 80s, this is revolutionary because 24-hour news was unheard of back then. But as some of you entrepreneurs know and small-time business owners know, it's hard to raise money, right, if you don't have personal credit, a guarantor, and you're a new company. Who's going to lend you money for your new company and your company has no track record? So this is the problem that big business faced back then. So for CNN and Ted Turner, they had no credit, right? They had no history because this is a new business model. What Michael Milken and junk bonds allowed a company like CNN to do was raise money with virtually no credit by using bonds that were low grade. By issuing bonds with low grade that people frowned upon and only credible investment banks and Wall Street firms can issue, right? And they was not issuing them to just anybody. They wasn't issuing them to just any new jack. But what Michael Milken did was he came up and his company devised ways in which these junk bonds can be issued outside of known Wall Street players, because he was an outsider. So he found a way to issue these bonds to new companies like a CNN or an MCI, T. Boone Pickens. And so now you had companies that had no history, that was raising money with bonds that only big-time Wall Street players can issue, that were worth low grade. And from that, these companies flourished, right? Now, this was unheard of in Wall Street. Unheard of. So in the 1970s and 80s, Michael Milken was responsible, and you could check it out, for a lot of billionaires. A lot of the stuff that we still use today is because of this man, Michael Milken. So he might have had a bigger impact than a Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, because without him and the use of these junk bonds, a lot of these companies would not exist. So I just wanted to give a brief history of private equity and Michael Milken. And another method in which he used was called hostile takeovers, or LBOs, leverage buyouts. So what this did was it allowed someone, let's again use Apple, right? Let's say Apple was not profitable, it was just failing. What happened was you had a lot of what they call, what do they call them? Not maverick investors. I forgot the term, but you had a lot of people, investors, that would do hostile takeovers. So they would just raid your company and try to overtake the board of directors by any way they could, whether it's leveraging votes and using junk bonds and Michael Milken's method. They did this. So when you hear hostile takeovers, a lot of that was made popular by Michael Milken, Carl Icahn, things like that. So a good movie to watch to explain this is Barbarians at the Gate. It's an excellent movie. That's a classic. Barbarians at the Gate. And after you watch this video, rewatch Wall Street, and you see that LBOs and hostile takeovers, he was a corporate raider in Wall Street. So that's the same thing. And I suggest, obviously, study Michael Milken. I don't normally suggest novels, but this is a good novel, right? Because novels also have a lot of truth in it. A lot of movies that we see come from novels, and a lot of novels are written by individuals that had experience. Like this individual is in Wall Street, so he's an insider. But this book explains private equity, and it explains the process. So, and it gets you to escape from the madness. Sometimes a novel gets you in a good escape, proper escape, because it's finance. So I just wanted to give a brief history. I won't get too much into the history, but on a regular level, that's something that everybody should explore. Even if you have a family, if you have a job and you're looking to grow your money and looking to transition and add to what you're already doing, I would suggest looking into business flipping. Look into Mike Warren. He's someone that offers coaching on business flipping. And these are creative ideas. This puts you in the game. Imagine the feeling of taking a company that exists and you take it over and you purchase it and you grow it how you see fit. You make it prosper. And then years later or months later, if you're that nice, you resell it and get a profit on top of what you put in. It's a rush. And then you'll start to see how people in high finance love this stuff. You know, it's no rush like it. So, you know, I'm available for consultations, things like that. I prefer to talk about other stuff, but people love to talk about money. So if we're going to talk about money, this is how we should do it on a higher level. Transition from all the hustling and lower level stuff, because there's people that are young, that are making a lot of money, inventing things, creating social networks, doing high finance. And they're doing it because their limitations aren't like the average person. They're doing it because they love it, they have passion, and, you know, it moves them. And don't let anybody tell you that you don't need passion and you don't have to love what you do. Oh, that's nonsense. Anybody that tells you that, make them prove it. I guarantee you they're doing something they love. Because anything you do just for, if money's your primary reason over everything else, I don't care what anybody says, that is a job. Period. That is a job. There's nothing wrong with jobs. If you love it, you love it. But if you want your time freedom and you want overall happiness and you don't want to be broke, explore other options. There's other options for money. This option of business flipping is an untapped thing. Most people, the average American, doesn't do stuff like this. And it's right in front of you. When you go online and you look at these sites, you'll see all type of businesses. You'll see furniture stores. You'll see everything. You know, in the next video, when I cover digital marketing and internet marketing, I'm going to give you a real-time example of my personal experience with these things. This way you can see a working example, because people love working examples. And then this way you can see that it's possible. But I definitely suggest business flipping. I definitely suggest private equity. Look up Mike Warren, and there's others. I may put them in the description box. And just get used to looking at businesses that's available. Just the fact of you looking at these opportunities, you'll be surprised. You'll be like, wow, you know, I had no idea this was right under my nose. Imagine in your local region, less than 5 miles from where you at, there's businesses that are good businesses, but they just have poor management. And all it takes is for someone with some discipline and a vision to go in there and say, yo, I could turn this business around. You know, what if I offer you a partnership? Because at the end of the day, businesses are in business, right, to provide things for people and to make money. So if people are losing money in business, right, nobody really wants to lose money. You go in there and say, listen, I understand you have a good business model here. Um, I believe you may be losing money. I would like to put some money up with you and partner, or I would like to buy your business because maybe some people don't want to sell. They might be in denial. If you offer a partnership, now you are doing what Wall Street does. You are injecting capital into this business. And therefore, for injecting that capital, you now have a percentage. And that percentage gives you a voice and a say-so. This is how businesses ran. We all too often don't analyze how the things we use, right, iPhones or whatever, are businesses. They have boards of directors, they have CEOs, COOs, CFOs. You can be a CEO, you can be a COO. By injecting your capital, you actually now have a percentage. You are on the board. And this could be done with private companies. This could be done locally. How many local businesses do you pass every day, right? And the more you look at it, you'll get to see other industries. You don't have to do restaurants. You don't have to do, you could branch out. Businesses want to make money. So I suggest that you look into business flipping and private equity, do a little research. Barbarians at the Gate, excellent movie. Definitely look up Michael Milken. This dude was a legend, you know. Probably one of the greatest innovators in American history, but you don't hear about that. Now, obviously, he went to jail, they said, for fraud, but even that, I won't get into that. Don't know how legit that whole thing was in terms of setting him up, but that's why I wanted to make this video. So I'm going to do a series of these. This is the first part, private equity, business flipping. So again, there's people that invented apps. Look up these websites and look at the apps that's out there. They're just sitting there waiting to be purchased and taken over, grown, so you can make a profit from it. There's internet businesses that make money every single month. Just cash flow, just people going to the sites. The website generates money. You can purchase those and have a business in the box. You don't even have to worry about inventing anything. And the same thing for local or physical businesses. There's hundreds of businesses out there where people want to cash out. It has poor management and they're hemorrhaging money, where you could come in there, inject your capital, and take it over, make it profitable, and sell it. Or even retain part ownership of it and receive the revenue every month for yourself. That's profit sharing. So these are things that you take the power that high finance people and billionaires and millionaires use, and you, me, can also use that and become those same type of financial titans. So with that, thanks again for your attention. Don't forget to start the conversation. We have just talked about money, and look forward to part 2 when I discuss another vehicle, higher finance, no lower level stuff because that's played out, on how to make money and build systems. Peace.